Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And I have been creating a series of video presentations for the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development Program, and in particular, the AWD1100 C# Programming Fundamentals class. These presentations are based off the textbook that is used for the class, as shown on the screen here. That is Muroc C# 2015. And I have done presentations for chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and part of 6. So I'm going to continue on with that right now. All right. Not sure exactly where I left off, but I think it was somewhere over here. What I'm going to do, a little bit different here, is I'm going to grab this code. And I don't expect to have it totally make sense to everybody who's watching this, but I'd like to explain a couple things regarding it. Let's see. There we go. All right, so if you look right here, what I want you to understand is the following. And I'm going to do a little bit of work here that I don't have to do. All right. This is a function that is called getFutureValue. All right. It takes in 3 parameters. It returns a parameter of type, or a variable of type decimal. Should probably make sense to everyone. What may or may not make sense is that you can call this particular function in many different ways. You can call it like this. So in other words, I can call getFutureValue, and I can pass in a monthly investment, let's say $100, an interest rate, let's say 2%, and a number of months. Let's say I want to do it for 10 years, so 120 months. Totally fine. So that 100 that you see right there, that becomes the monthly investment. The 2%, that becomes the monthly interest rate. And the 120 becomes the number of months. Now that probably makes sense to everybody. But I can also call that, for example, like this. And it'll work just fine. That 100 will now become the monthly investment. Since I passed in nothing, no other parameters, it'll take what are called the default parameters for monthly interest rate. So it'll give it 5%. And since I didn't give it a parameter for months, it'll be 12. So in other words, that particular example that you see right there is the equivalent of me going in and passing in this. And I'm just hoping that makes sense to people. So, a couple things. If you have default parameters, they must come after non-default parameters. And order matters. So in other words, I can't sit there and do this. I cannot call getFutureValue. All right. So let's say I pass in again 100. And let's say that I pass in 120. Okay? The system is not smart enough to say that 100 goes with that 100 and that 120 goes with that one. It doesn't know that. It's all positional. So it says that 100 goes with 100, that 120 goes with the interest rate, and 12 will be used for months. So I would have to pass. If I wanted an interest rate, if I wanted it to be, even if I wanted it to be the default, I'd have to do it like that. All right? And hopefully that makes sense. So when they talk about default parameters here, okay, that's what they're talking about. So let's see. I'm going to close this and reopen it because I've been having some problems. There we go. There we are. Save and change. No, I can cancel. There we are. All right. So, see exactly where I am here. And let's do this from the beginning. So, we talked before about coding methods. All right. So I think we've hit on all this stuff already. I just mentioned optional parameters. And there are their examples right there. I don't think they're any better or any worse than mine are. All right. When you pass arguments, all right, and all an argument is a parameter that you pass to a function. Notice here, you're passing it by name. So this is different. Notice here we're saying monthly investment, monthly investment, and months. Now, in this case, the system should understand that's the monthly investment, that's the months. So the other one that's left, the interest rate, use the default value because it's doing it based on names. All right, I don't use this often. I find it a little bit confusing. You know, again, it's the kind of thing, when I talk about things like this, quite often, I use the term mushrooms. When I was a little kid, I couldn't stand mushrooms. They made me sick. As I got older, I developed a taste for them, and now I like them. And what I mean is, people either like to do things like this, or almost despise it. So you'll do it or you won't do it. All right. Let's see, the calculate method with selected statements. Okay, I'm not sure what they're trying to show there. The method call that replaces the selected code. All right, we're going to start writing methods. The idea is, technically, you shouldn't be putting a lot of code in a button click event. Let's just talk for a minute why you might not want to put a lot of code in a button click event. As we go on in here, we're going to also learn how to build and add things like menus to our programs. So if we had the code that would, if we put all the code for a calculation in our buttons calculate click event, and then we wanted to call it from our menu option, the menu option would be calling the buttons click event. That's just poor practice. All right. So we're going to end up writing our own methods to do this. That's what I wanted to get to. All right. And they do mention in here how to use refactoring to create a method from existing code. I'm not going to use that. There's nothing wrong with doing this. But I'm going to show it. I'm going to rip the code out and put it into a new method because I think it makes more sense when explaining it. All right. All right. Now, if you notice right here, when you pass a value in, this may make more sense for me to show it to you like this. All right. So I'm going to come in and create, I don't even know if I'm going to save this, but they do require me to name it. So I'm going to make a very cheap, down and dirty, chintzy little program, but it's going to be a console program. All right. And the reason that I'm going to do that, let's see, I want to save that to my desktop. Occasionally when I do this, oh, I didn't get an error, good. So we're going to call this ref demo. All right. I'm not going to worry about the naming, etc. for it. That's all fine. Oh, didn't like something. Oh, I must have clicked the back button. All right. What I'm going to show you is really, really simple. All right. So I come in here, oops, I come in here and I'm going to create a couple variables. Okay. So I'm going to say int, oops, int x equals 17, int y equals 21, int z equals add 2, I'm going to get an error here, x, y. I'm going to write a new routine down here. Since it's dealing directly with main, it'll have to be static. So I'm going to say here static, and I'm going to return, okay, an int. So I'll say static int add 2. Now, these parameters right here, here, and here, these are their actual names, x and y. The names I use in here are called formal parameters. They do not have to have the same name. I can say int x, int y, and it'll work just fine. Or, right, why am I getting an error there? Oh, because I'm not returning anything yet. But I can also just say n1 and n2. That's fine. All right, and I'm just going to return n1 plus n2. Now, as you'd probably guess, if I come out here and I say I want to do a write line, so I have to do my using static system.console. All right, so I'm going to say here write line x dot toString plus y dot toString. I'm going to get an error there. I didn't put parens here. Equals, whoops, equals z dot toString. Now, if I did this right, again, if I did this right, what is going to happen here is it's going to end up saying 17 space plus 21 space equals 38. Pretty simple stuff. So let's run it. Oh, it's going to blip right off the screen because I didn't put another read line in here. So that's okay. We'll fix that in just a sec. So, oh, it did show. 17 plus 21 equals that. All right. So let's say read line and application dot exit. Oh, I thought it would work there. Oh, maybe not. This will work now, even if I get that error that you just saw a minute ago. So it does say 17 plus 21 equal 38. Boom. Don't know why I'm getting that, but that's okay. All right. What do you think is going to happen if I did this? If I said n1 equals 100 n2 equals 100. All right. You may or may not know. So I'm going to run this. And it still says 17 plus 21 equals 200. What? It is allowing me to change the numbers. But it isn't changing the numbers. Notice it's still 17 and it's still 21. All right. What do you think would happen if I printed that in here? Oops. Stop the run here. All right, so I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna put in here in function add 2. And I'm going to add in here in function main. All right, so let's run this. Why is this giving me an error here? X does not exist. Oh, I don't want X. I want N1 here and N2. Sorry. N1, might as well fix it now. Otherwise, I'm just going to get an error when I run it. N2, since I don't have a Z here, I can just put in N1 plus N2 dot toString. All right, so let's run it. And it says, now I'm in function add 1. Okay, the value of this is now 100. The value of this is now 100. So when I add 100 and 100, I get 200. Exactly what you think. Now I'm back in main, and it says, wow, it jumped back to 17 again and 21, but it's giving me 200. Well, what the heck is going on here? The point is, when we pass these in, 17 and the 21, it's what happens is I get a copy of X here and a copy of Y. So it copies X and it copies Y. That's exactly what happens. If I ran the program again right here, it's going to look like it just looked. It's going to look the same way. There, there. All right. What if I want to change the value of X and the value of Y? What if I want to change them and have it be a permanent change in here? Then what I can do is I can type in ref X and ref Y and ref int 1 and ref int 2. Let's look at the difference once we run this. In add 2, 100 plus 100 equal 200. In main, 100 plus 100 equal 200. By default, which means unless told otherwise, when you return a value from a function, you can return either no values whatsoever, in which case you put void there, or one value. If you want to change the values of several variables, you have to use the word ref. All right. In that case, you're passing the address in memory of where X lives and the address in memory of where Y lives. So when you pass something with a ref, it's a permanent change, as opposed to passing it with a copy, as we showed earlier. All right, I'm at 18 minutes, and I think that I will finish this in the, I believe, yeah, I will finish this in the next lecture. Be back soon.